Transit officials have been stressing the need for hundreds of millions of dollars for the CTA, Metro, and PACE to avoid massive layoffs and cuts. State lawmakers feeling the sense of urgency to get things done with time running out. With the legislative session on track to wrap up by May 31st, the pressure is on to find a way to fund mass transit.
We're going to have a fully funded, well-supported transit system, safe, affordable, and reliable, again, there's no secret that we have to move with some expediency to ensure that the funding is there.
Lawmakers in Springfield working down to the wire to pass a balanced budget in a very challenging year with revenue shortfalls and pending cuts in federal funding.
We're not trying to just close the books on a budget for the state of Illinois, but we're trying to close gaps in access and equity and accountability. And that's not easy in a very tough fiscal environment.
But before addressing any transit funding bills, lawmakers are working to revamp the governance for the transit agencies under a new entity replacing the Regional Transit Authority. The RTA says mass transit needs $771 million next year to avoid layoffs and cuts to service.
We know, once again, that we find ourselves in a precarious budget situation, but we also know that doing nothing is not an option. And so, we've got some long days and nights ahead here in this last week in Springfield.
Mayor Johnson also optimistic that the city's asks, which include a 911 surcharge tax and school funding for special education and transportation, will come through.
There's nothing that's guaranteed, and our work continues there to ensure that the asks that we have for the people of Chicago, that those asks become realized. Now, there's always room to negotiate, and there's different forms in which these asks can be delivered.
Lawmakers are in discussion about various new revenue sources, but while negotiators talk through them, they're keeping those ideas private. Lawmakers have until 11:59 p.m. on Saturday to pass a balanced budget, and once again, they are expecting to work right up until the end to get it done.